Imagine this. You are deep into a multi-day hike, miles from civilization, when you realise that you have lost your tent poles. No shelter, no backup, and you've just got that sinking feeling when you know you've made a huge mistake. Well, yes, I have been there. And trust me, you do not want to learn this type of thing the hard way. With over 30 years on the trail, I have faced and learned from just about every hiking blunder imaginable. So many, in fact, that I even wrote a book to help other hikers. It's called Pathfinder, a beginner's guide to hiking success, and it's packed with hard-earned lessons, practical tips, and essential advice to help you hike with confidence. You can grab a copy right now, the link is in the description below. But today I'm sharing 51 game-changing hiking tips I wish I'd known sooner. Tips that will prevent trip-ending mistakes, keep you safe, and make every hike smoother and more enjoyable. And trust me, you don't want to miss tip number 51. Most hikers never think about it, but once you do, and you know it, you'll never hike the same way again. So are you ready to transform your hiking experience? Well, hit that like button down below, hit the subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Gear must-haves and mistakes. Pack your bag in the same order every time. Have you ever struggled to find your rain jacket just as the first drops of rain start falling? Or you've had to just dig through your entire pack to grab a small little snack? One of the best habits you can develop is to pack your gear in a consistent order so that you always know exactly where everything is. I keep my essentials like my first aid kit, my rain jacket, and snacks in the same easy to find and easy to reach spots on every hike. That way, when I need something fast, I don't waste time rummaging around. It also helps at camp, so I'm not unpacking my entire bag just to find my headlamp or my tent. Once you have a regular packing system, you'll be amazed at how much smoother everything goes and feels. It feels pretty good when you've got a system and you know where everything is. Don't skimp on socks. Your feet are your most important asset on the trail, and the wrong socks can lead to blisters, hot spots, and discomfort, and that can really ruin a hike. Invest in high quality moisture wicking socks made from merino wool or synthetic blends. They help regulate temperature, they reduce friction, and they dry quickly if they get wet. Avoid cotton at all costs as it traps moisture and can lead to painful blisters. Having a spare pair in your pack can be a lifesaver on longer hikes, especially if your feet get wet. Bring a repair kit. Gear failures happen, and when they do, having a small repair kit can mean the difference between continuing your hike or cutting it short. What is short? It's short. A little kit with a needle and thread, some tape or some adhesive patches can fix everything from a torn tent or jacket to a broken backpack strap. I even carry a spare waist belt buckle because if that snaps, carrying your pack becomes a real struggle. It's a tiny bit of extra weight, but can save you a major headache when you're out in the wilderness. Always pack spare shoelaces. A snap shoelace might not seem like a big deal until it happens mid-hike with no replacement in sight. Carrying an extra set of laces is lightweight insurance that takes up no space but can save your trip. If you want a multi-use option, which I'm a big fan of, bring a length of paracord or spare guy line, something like that, which can double as laces and can be used for gear repairs as well. Use a smaller stuff sack for your sleeping bag. Now, some sleeping bag or quilt stuff sacks can take up a lot of space in your pack because they're a bit bigger. Swapping this out for a smaller compression style sack can significantly reduce bulk, making room for other essential items. You can even use a waterproof dry bag to keep it compact and protected from moisture. Use reflective cord for your tent. Have you ever tripped over your tent skylines in the dark in the middle of the night? Well, I have many times. Using reflective cord makes your tent lines visible in low light, reducing the risk of nighttime stumbles. Doesn't rule them out altogether though, but it's nice. It's an easy upgrade that can save you from a painful fall, especially in crowded campsites or when moving around in the dark. Even better, if you arrive at camp late, reflective lines make setup easier by catching your headlamp's beam as you're getting set up. Keep your sleeping bag dry at all costs. A wet down sleeping bag, I should say, loses insulation and can be dangerous in cold conditions. Store it, like I said, in a waterproof dry bag and never let it touch the ground when the ground's wet. If the ground's dry, it's okay. You know what I mean. Don't forget a buff or neck gaiter. A buff is one of the most versatile pieces of hiking gear that you can carry. It can be used as a sun shield, neck warmer, headband, sweatband, dust mask, or even as an emergency bandage. I only started using one recently and I can't believe I went so long without it. Now I've got a buff in my pack at all time, or on my head. But you want to choose a lightweight, moisture wicking fabric for warm conditions or a fleece-lined version for extra warmth in the colder weather. Learn the difference between waterproof and water resistant. Not all rain gear is created equal. A water-resistant jacket might handle a light drizzle, but won't keep you dry in a Tasmanian downpour, or a downpour anywhere. Tasmanian downpours are like downpours in other places. Before you head out, check your gear's waterproof rating, and if you're hiking in wet conditions, re-waterproof your jacket with a treatment like Nikwax. A truly waterproof shell with sealed seams and good breathability will make all the difference in staying dry, warm, and comfortable. Train with a loaded pack before big hikes. Hiking with weight feels very different from hiking with a lighter pack. Before you head out on a major trek, train with as close to the full weight as you plan to carry to build endurance and adjust the pack fit. Gradually building up your pack weight during training will also help you get used to the weight. Smart hiking strategies. Start early to avoid afternoon fatigue. Mornings are cooler, quieter, and often have the best lighting for views and photography. Plus, getting an early start means you have more time to handle unexpected delays. Hike at a conversational pace. If you're too breathless to talk, you're likely pushing too hard too soon. A steady, sustainable pace prevents burnout and lets you enjoy the hike instead of just enduring the hike. This is especially important on long, steep trails where conserving energy early means you finish stronger and recover faster. Listen to your body and adjust as needed. Use the rest step on steep climbs. This trick involves pausing briefly with each step to reduce muscle fatigue. It's a game changer on those really long ascents. With each step, pause for a second, take a breath in before you continue on. Pace yourself based on terrain, not distance. A 10-kilometre flat walk is nothing like a 10-kilometre mountain climb. Elevation gain, rocky trails, and weather all affect your speed and your effort. When you're planning a hike, consider not just the distance, but also the difficulty. A short but steep climb might take longer than a long, gentle trail. This type of mindset helps you set realistic expectations and avoid overexertion. Pre-hydrate before a hike. Drinking water before you start reduces how much you'll need to drink later. This is especially useful on long dry sections where water sources are scarce. Use a micro break strategy. Instead of stopping for big long rests all the time, consider taking short 30-second breaks every 15 to 20 minutes. This helps maintain momentum without letting your muscles stiffen. Sure, you still take those longer breaks occasionally, but not quite as often. Take advantage of natural energy boosters. Foods like nuts, dried fruit, and even a bit of dark chocolate provide sustained energy. Avoid sugary snacks that cause energy crashes. Pay attention to your body's signals. Slight discomfort can turn into an injury if ignored. If something feels off, whether it's a hot spot on your foot or an ache in your knee, address it before it worsens. Adjust your layers before you sweat. If you wait until you're overheating to remove a layer, you'll likely start sweating, which can make you cold later on. Stay ahead of temperature changes. Save an easy, enjoyable snack for the final stretch. A favourite treat like a chocolate bar or a special trail mix can really give you a great mental boost when fatigue kicks in near the end of a long day's hike. Having that little treat at the end of the day can really lift your spirits. Comfort and safety tips. Break in your gear at home. Now, new gear might look great, but if you don't test it before hitting the track, you could be in for some uncomfortable surprises. Boots that seem fine in the store can cause painful blisters after a few kilometres, and a new backpack might dig into your shoulders if it's not adjusted correctly. Before any hike, wear your boots a bit around the house, around the block, or on short walks. Fully load up your pack and carry it around, see how it feels. Does it feel comfortable? Set up your tent and stove in your backyard to make sure everything is working smoothly. A little preparation now can save a lot of discomfort later on. Keep a small light source within reach at night. Few things are more frustrating than waking up in the middle of the night and fumbling around for your head torch or your headlamp. Whether it's for a quick bathroom bake, or you're just adjusting your gear, or checking the time, or checking the tent, keeping a small light source easily accessible can make a big difference in comfort and safety. Keep a lightweight headlamp within reach or stash a mini torch in a side pocket. This simple habit prevents unnecessary stress and ensures that you are never left blindly searching for light when you need it most. Use your pack's hip belt properly. Now, many beginner hikers ignore or misuse their hip belt, but it is the key to carrying weight on your back comfortably. A well-adjusted hip belt should sit snugly around your hips, not your waist. It should be transferring most of your pack's weight from your shoulders to the stronger leg muscles down below via your hips. This reduces fatigue, improves balance, and prevents sore shoulders after a long day on the track. To get the best fit, tighten your hip belt first, then adjust your shoulder straps and load lifters to evenly distribute weight. A properly fitted pack feels lighter and moves with you, making your hike a whole lot more enjoyable. Change into dry camp socks for instant comfort. After a long day of hiking, your feet have likely been sweating, swelling, or even getting a little damp from creek crossings or from the rain. One of the best ways to boost comfort and help prevent blisters is to swap out your hiking socks for a dry pair as soon as you get to camp. This allows your feet to breathe, helps reduce moisture buildup in your sleeping bag, and it makes for a much more comfortable night's rest. Keeping a dedicated pair of camp socks, warm, dry socks that never get worn while hiking, is a simple trick that makes a huge difference in how refreshed your feet feel by the morning. And it's one of the things that I look forward to at the end of a very long day's hiking. I just love it, putting on those dry socks. It's nice. Wear lightweight gardening gloves for protection in tough terrain. Here in Tasmania, it's pretty common to use a thing called scrub gloves. Gardening gloves, which are just great in thick bush, on rocky scrambles, and on overgrown trails, which can leave your hands scratched, scraped, and even bruised. So I always pack a pair of lightweight gardening gloves. The Ninja gloves that I use are lightweight, tough, long-lasting, and provide excellent grip without feeling too bulky. They're also great on cool mornings, just enough to just take the edge off without making your hands too warm. Once you start using them, you'll wonder why you didn't use them sooner. In the early stages of my hiking career, I never used to use scrub gloves, but for the last couple of decades, they have been a game changer for me. And again, you can learn more about tips like these in my new book. Link is in the description down below. Apply sunscreen even in winter. Many hikers only think about sunscreen in the summertime, but UV exposure is a year-round risk, especially here in Tasmania where the sun's intensity can be deceptive. Snow, water, and even light-coloured rocks reflect the UV rays, increasing your chances of sunburn. And don't be fooled by cloudy days either. Up to 80% of UV radiation still passes through the clouds. And one area that hikers often forget are the backs of the legs and the knees. There's nothing worse than realizing at camp that your legs are bright red and aching from a full day of sun exposure. I've learned this the hard way, and that these areas, along with the ears, hands, and the back of the neck, are the most overlooked but most vulnerable. I always carry a broad spectrum sweat resistant sunscreen and reapply it every few hours. Always carry a rubbish bag. A simple Ziploc bag or a lightweight dry bag dedicated to rubbish is one of the most useful and responsible things you can pack. Whether it's food wrappers or stray bits of rubbish you find along the trail that someone has left behind, having a designated bag ensures that you leave no trace and take what you make out with you. And what rubbish you make, you take it out with you. Opt for a strong, resealable bag that won't leak or tear, and keep it easily accessible so that you can pack out your waste without hassle. I tend to keep mine in my pack, between my pack liner and the pack. Not actually in with my gear, but it's just in between the liner and the pack. It's a small habit that makes a big difference in keeping the outdoors pristine and nice for everybody. Always stash snacks in your pockets. When you're deep into a hike and energy levels start to drop, the last thing you want to have to do is to stop, take off your pack, and just dig around trying to find that bit of food, a snack to keep you going. Keeping quick access snacks in your pockets or in small pouches on your pack or hip belt make a huge difference. I always have some muesli bars, trail mix, or snack bars within reach, normally in my hip belt pocket, so that I can refuel while I'm walking. This is especially important on tough climbs or on cold days when stopping for long breaks can make you a little chilly. Having food readily available keeps your energy steady and helps prevent fatigue before it sets in. Double check water availability. Never assume that a marked water source on a map will be flowing when you arrive. In dry seasons, streams can turn into dry creek beds, and even normally reliable tarns or pools of water can shrink or disappear altogether. Before any hike, I check recent trip reports, things like rainfall history in recent times, and satellite images if they're available. If I'm unsure, I will be carrying extra water or a water filter to make use of smaller, less obvious sources. Running out of water can quickly turn a great hike into a dangerous situation, so planning ahead is key, especially if you're going hiking in certain areas here in Tasmania. Prep for swollen feet. After hours of walking, your feet naturally swell, sometimes by a full shoe size. This is why well-fitted boots should feel comfortable with a little extra room when you first try them on. If your feet start feeling tight mid-hike, loosen off your laces slightly or switch to thinner socks to relieve the pressure. Wiggling your toes, elevating your feet during breaks, and staying hydrated can also help to reduce swelling. If you don't account for this, you could end up with painful blisters, sore joints, or even numb toes by the end of the day. Skills to master. Learn to orient yourself without a compass. If you find yourself disoriented without a compass, the landscape itself can provide valuable clues. Water flows downhill, so following a stream or a river can often lead to lower ground and eventually to a road or even civilization. Pay attention to track patterns. Many well-used paths or tracks follow ridgelines or contour around hills rather than going straight up or down. If you've been on the track for a while, stop and recall major turns, inclines, or open spaces you've passed earlier. Mentally retracing your steps can help you reorient yourself. Reorient or reorientate? Reorient. I think it's reorient. Even small details like the shape of distant mountain ranges can serve as reliable direction markers if you stay observant. Practice tying a tarp. A simple tarp or tarpaulin type shelter can provide instant protection from rain, wind, or sun, but only if you know how to set it up properly. Learning a few key knots and configurations can be a game changer in unexpected conditions. Tarps are pretty lightweight, they're versatile, and they're faster to set up than a tent, making them perfect for emergency situations. If I'm in a group, I tend to always carry a small tarp, and it has saved us on more than one occasion when we have needed quick cover. It's even good just around camp on those rainy days. That's why practicing at home before you need it makes all the difference. Study how to read cloud formations. Clouds can tell you a lot about incoming weather, and knowing how to read them can help you avoid getting caught in a storm. High wispy clouds, like those cirrus clouds, usually mean good weather, while thick, dark clouds, cumulonimbus, signal rain or thunderstorm. A sudden increase in cloud cover often means a front is on the way, so it's time to check your layers and be prepared for a change. When I'm hiking in an area with a good view and there are clouds in the distance, I am always looking for potential rain and weather changes, and I'm keeping an eye on it, seeing if it's heading my way or if it's just flowing past. If you're in exposed areas, being able to read the sky can give you an early warning before bad weather hits. Periodically turn around and memorize your route. Tracks and trails can look completely different on the way back, especially in dense forest or open alpine areas where landmarks are less obvious. A simple habit that helps is to regularly stop, turn around and take note of what the trail looks like from the opposite direction. Pay attention particularly at trail junctions, unusual rock formations, or changes in vegetation. These very small details can be crucial if you need to retrace your steps later on. If you're hiking in a group, occasionally quizzing each other on what's behind you can reinforce the memory as well. For extra security, take a few quick photos of key points. So if you do get turned around, you have visual references to guide you back. And if you had to turn around, you've also got the photo and the time it was taken, so you can sort of figure out where you were and when. Practice reading contour lines. Topographic maps can look confusing at first, but understanding contour lines will give you a huge advantage in planning and navigating hikes. Closely packed lines mean steep terrain, while wide-spaced lines indicate flatter ground. Before heading out, study the elevation gain and the descent so you know what to expect. Recognizing valleys, ridges, and water sources just from a map can help you choose better routes and avoid unnecessary climbs. Learn to use handrails in the landscape for easier navigation. When navigating off track or through unfamiliar terrain, using nature's natural handrails, prominent linear landscape features that guide your direction, can make route finding much easier. Ridges, valleys, rivers, and even long stretches of rock formations can serve as reliable markers to follow. For example, if you know a river runs parallel to your route, keeping it within sight ensures that you stay on track without constantly checking a map. We still should check it, but you don't need to check it as often because you know the river's right there. Similarly, sticking to a ridgeline can help you avoid getting lost in dense bushland. Not bushline, bushland. If you're on the ridge and you don't go down to the bush, it's harder to get lost. So instead of navigating by guesswork, identifying and following these large-scale features helps you stay oriented and move more efficiently through the landscape. Don't underestimate night navigation. Hiking in the dark can be very disorienting, especially on poorly marked trails. Even when you've got a headlamp, familiar landscapes can look completely different at night time. To prepare, practice navigating by torchlight in safe areas first. Be aware that at night, distances can be harder to judge and your peripheral vision is reduced, making balance trickier on uneven ground. If you do have to hike in the dark, move slowly, use trekking poles for stability, and keep an extra battery or a battery bank for your headlamp. Learn to estimate distance without a GPS. Now, this is one that I have learned from my initial foray into row gaining and orienteering. Being able to estimate how far you've travelled without relying on a GPS is a really valuable skill, especially if your battery dies or you lose signal. One method is pacing. So counting your steps over a known distance, like say 100 meters, to calculate how many steps it takes you to walk a kilometer. Another technique is time estimation. On flat terrain, most hikers walk around 4 to 5 kilometers per hour, but this slows on rough or steep ground. Landmarks can also help. If a lake is 2 kilometers away on the map and you reach it in 30 minutes, you can estimate your pace from there. Over time, practicing these techniques sharpens your sense of distance, making it easier to track progress, estimate arrival times, and stay oriented without depending on technology. It's really nice being able to say, right, that is 2 or 3 kilometers away. It's going to take me 30 to 45 minutes to get there. Practice first aid scenarios. Now, it's one thing to carry a first aid kit, but it's another to know how to use it. Every 2 to 3 years, I redo a first aid course, and I also brush up on how to treat blisters, sprains, cuts, and dehydration. Practicing scenarios like splinting an ankle or dealing with a snake bite helps you stay calm in real emergencies. If you hike often, then consider taking a wilderness first aid course so that you can handle more serious situations confidently. It really does make a difference if you keep up to speed and up to date on all this sort of stuff, especially when you're hiking a lot. Learn how to assess river crossings. Crossing rivers can be one of the most dangerous parts of hiking, especially if you're in areas where there's not necessarily bridges and that type of thing. And knowing when not to cross is just as important as knowing how to cross. If you're looking at a section and the current is pretty strong, then that water there potentially is above your knees. If you can't see the bottom or if it's unclear, it's safer to turn back and find another way. When crossing, unbuckle your pack so you can ditch it if needed, and always face upstream to maintain stability. Trekking poles can help you balance and to check the water depth, but if the water is fast moving or swollen from recent rain, it is not worth the risk a lot of the time. There are many times I've chosen to turn around and look for a safer option or to cancel the walk altogether if I'm only a short way in. Here in Tasmania, considering river crossings on a lot of our walks really is a major factor when you're heading out. Mindset and enjoying the journey. Embrace the unpredictability of nature. Now, no matter how well you prepare, nature will always have the final say. Sudden weather changes, washed out tracks, or unexpected detours are all part of the adventure. Instead of letting these moments frustrate you, see them as opportunities to adapt and to grow as a hiker. Some of my most memorable hikes have come from unplanned challenges that forced me to take a different route or find a creative solution to the task at hand. Accepting the unknown makes everything on a hike much more rewarding. Take time to soak in the small details. It's easy to focus on reaching your destination, but some of the best moments happen when you slow down and just take in your surroundings. Notice the textures of some moss on a fallen log, the sound of wind through the trees, that cool little mushroom toadstool thing you just saw in the forest, the smell of the eucalyptus in the morning air. These details connect you more deeply to nature and make your hike unique. The journey is just as important as the destination, sometimes even more so. Slow down when you're feeling frustrated. We all have tough moments when we're out on the track, whether it's exhaustion, bad weather, or getting off track. Instead of pushing through frustration, pause, take a big deep breath, and just reset. Have a sip of water, adjust your pack, or just stand still and listen to nature for a few minutes. Hiking should be an enjoyable challenge, not a stressful race, and taking a moment to regroup can completely change your mindset. Keep a hiking journal. Writing down your experiences is a great way to track progress and reflect on what worked and what didn't. Record things like trail conditions, gear performance, weather, and personal challenges so that you can improve your future hikes. But don't just focus on logistics. Write about the views that took your breath away, the unexpected wildlife encounters, or the way the sunset looked from your campsite. These memories will be priceless in years to come when you look back on them. Share the experience with others. Hiking solo is great, but sharing a trail with friends, family, or a hiking group adds another level of enjoyment. The shared struggles, the laughter, and the moments of awe create bonds that last well beyond the trail. Whether it's introducing someone new to hiking or swapping stories around the campsite when you're sitting there of an evening, these connections make the experience richer. Plus, hiking with others can increase safety and motivation on those really tough days. Learn to laugh at mishaps. Some of the best hiking stories come from things not going to plan. And I can think of many in my head right now. Taking a wrong turn, burning your dinner, slipping in the mud, falling in the water. At the moment, it might feel frustrating, but later, these are the memories you'll laugh about, and it's why I'm just grinning right now, because they're just so funny to look back on. Learning to embrace mistakes as part of the adventure makes you a better, more adaptable hiker. If you can laugh at yourself, even the worst situations become less stressful and more entertaining. It really is some funny memories there. Celebrate your progress. Hiking isn't about competing with others. It's about challenging yourself and improving over time. Whether you hike a little further, tackle a steeper climb, or simply feel more confident on the trail, take a moment to appreciate how far you have come. Looking back at old hikes, you'll realize the things that once felt difficult are now second nature. Recognizing these small victories keeps you motivated and excited for the next adventure. Create rituals. Little traditions can make your hikes feel even more special. Maybe it's having a cup of tea at the summit of a mountain, taking a photo at the start of the track beside the trailhead sign, or wearing the same lucky hat on every walk or shirt like my friend Walter does. These small rituals help mark the experience and create a sense of continuity between hikes. They also give you something to look forward to no matter how challenging the trail ahead might be. Focus on gratitude. Now, not everyone has the opportunity to step into nature, breathe in the fresh air, and experience the beauty of the wilderness. When hiking feels tough, and it does, take a moment to appreciate the privilege of being strong enough and free enough to be out on the trail. Gratitude shifts your mindset, making even difficult hikes feel like a gift rather than a struggle. And again, I go into this a little bit in my new book. You can learn more about it in the description down below. Remember, the trail will always be there. Now, there's no rush to see it all. Hike every peak or complete every trail right now. Hiking is a lifelong journey and nature isn't going anywhere. Some of the best hikes are the ones you return to, seeing them in a new season or with fresh eyes. Take your time, enjoy the process, and know that the mountains, forests, and trails will be waiting whenever you're ready. Learn to hike without a destination in mind. One of the biggest mindset shifts you can make as a hiker is to let go of the destination and focus on the experience. So many people can get caught up in reaching a summit, finishing a set distance, or ticking off trails or peaks that they forgot to actually enjoy the journey. I am guilty of this myself. Some of my best hikes weren't the ones where I was trying to tick off a peak, but ones where I was doing the walk for a second or a third time and just enjoying getting out there. When you stop worrying about how far, how fast, or how high, and instead focus on how it feels to be out there, everything changes. You become more aware of the sights, the sounds, and the small details that make hiking so special. You give yourself permission to slow down, explore, and truly connect with the landscape. And ultimately, you realize that the best hikes aren't about getting somewhere, they're about being present. Once you embrace this, you'll never hike the same way again. And if you want to dive deeper into the mental hacks that I use for those really tough walks, then check out this video up here where I go through my full mental strategy.